15 spine-chilling true stories from the sinister depths of Reddit, unveiling haunted secrets. Jess had always felt an anxious pulse in the air, but tonight, it thrummed louder than ever. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting ghostly shadows as she typed away at work, her fingers racing across the keyboard. Outside, the long-familiar sound of distant sirens pinched her stomach, and the half-lit street outside felt off-kilter, full of watchful eyes. She was alone, but she felt the creeping dread like fingers wrapping around her throat. Her phone buzzed, and a new message lit up the screen, pulling her in. Beware of the girl who vanished in the suburbs, her ghost still roams, looking for someone. A chill ran down her spine. What kind of nightmare lurked in her own neighborhood? The comments flooded in from the thread, chilling tales, broken lives, secrets buried in the cracked pavement. Jess's heart skipped as she read about Mr. Thompson, the friendly neighbor who always offered a smile, but whose eyes held an unspoken truth that sent shivers down her spine. Biting her lip, she glanced toward the couch where Chloe sat, headphones over her ears, oblivious. The atmosphere shifted. Chloe seemed lost to a world Jess didn't understand, a world that seemed to pull at her with dark tendrils. When night fell, whispers echoed from Chloe's room like moths circling a flame. There was laughter too, unholy and unsettling. Was it the ghostly spirit that sought Chloe? Or was her daughter slipping into something darker? Jess brushed her fears aside, remembering her desperate calls for help, police dismissing her, their laughter ringing in her ears. Just a story, Ma Am. It's not what it seems. They didn't understand. They didn't see. More nights passed, and Mr. Thompson visited more often, the neighborly warmth fading. He lingered too long during conversations, a smile that no longer felt inviting, leaving Jess to sweat and second-guess with each visit. "Mom, can you come here?" A voice floated down the hall the next night. Heart pounding, Jess hurried to see Chloe half asleep. "She's coming." What did that mean? The darkness thickened around them, an oppressive fog creeping closer. Jess's breath quickened. This wasn't just a ghost story anymore. This was a warning. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Facing her fears, Jess marched over to Mr. Thompson's door, compelled by a mix of bravery and panic. Their eyes met as she approached, a jarring clash of warmth and cold. "You can't protect her from what you don't understand," he hissed, his smile contorting into something cryptic. Jess staggered back, a wave of dread crashing over her. That night, as Chloe muttered in her sleep, Jess felt a heavy air pressing down, a presence, straining against the walls of their home. The ghost, the boy who vanished, eyes pleading from the dark. Chloe whispered again, a shuddering breath escaping her lips, "Mom, she's coming." The walls of the house echoed with a hollow thrum, promising a danger deeper than she ever imagined. Who was coming? And why did it feel like she was out of time? The night dragged on with a thick silence, broken only by Chloe's restless murmurs that seemed to swell from the shadows. Jess paced the dimly lit hallway, her heart racing at the unsettling weight that pressed on her chest. What did Chloe mean? Who was she, and how was Jess supposed to confront a ghostly presence that wasn't just a figment of an overactive imagination? As the clock ticked menacingly towards midnight, Jess's determination solidified. If something lurked in the house, she was going to uncover it. She grabbed a flashlight, its dim beam quivering in her shaky grasp. The house felt alive, its creaks and groans amplifying the fear simmering inside her. Stronger than all her anxiety was a need to protect Chloe, to shield her from whatever was creeping closer. Chloe's door creaked open, its hinges giving a low groan. Jess peeked inside. Her daughter lay curled up, the headphones slack around her neck. The room was a kaleidoscope of shadows, the glow from the street lamp filtering through the drapes casting eerie shapes that danced across the walls. But Jess felt something else, an electric charge in the air, prickly and relentless. "Chloe," she whispered, stepping further into the room, her breath catching in her throat. Chloe's eyes fluttered open with a glassy stare. "Mom, she's here." Chloe's voice was almost a whisper, a fragile echo that sent ice coursing through Jess's veins. "Who?" Jess pressed, desperate for an explanation. The girl she's always watching. Chloe's gaze darted toward the corner of the room, where shadows pooled thickly, swirling unnaturally. Jess squinted, straining against the darkness, but saw nothing. "Turn on the light," Jess urged, holding her breath as Chloe fumbled for her lamp. The bulb flickered to life, illuminating the room and banishing shadows for a moment. For a heartbeat, everything felt safer. But whispers hung in the air, almost tangible, twisted and unintelligible, slithering through her skull. Chloe shivered, her body suddenly rigid. "She wants me to come outside." "Absolutely not." Jess's voice rose, a surge of primal protectiveness overriding her fear. "We're staying inside." The words felt weak against the tremors of the house, but she had to assert control. Suddenly, the room plunged into darkness. The light bulb shattered, sending shards of glass cascading like rain. Jess gasped, her heart racing as Chloe screamed, her voice cutting through the silence like a knife. The oppressive shadow thickened into a form high, tall, and eerily thin. Jess took a step back, adrenaline surging through her veins. The figure seemed to shift, its edges blending into the darkness, yet the outline felt menacing. A piercing, cold presence wrapped around Jess, whispering secrets too terrifying to grasp. "Run!" Jess screamed. She grabbed Chloe's wrist and yanked her towards the door, just as a breathy voice slipped through the gap between the darkness and light. "Stay!" They bolted down the hall, Jess's heart hammering fiercely, desperation fueling her movements. As they reached the front door, icy fingers brushed against her neck, cold and almost familiar. "Mom! We can't leave!" Chloe yelled, her wide eyes pleading. "We have to stay." "Why?" Jess snapped, "What do you know? This is where she wants us, she needs us." "Jess, turn back." A voice echoed in her mind, Mr. Thompson's resentful warning. But in her gut, she felt that he knew more than he had let on. With every fiber of her being, Jess pushed against the terror coiling around them. She was losing control. Her daughter was spiraling down a dark path, and the ghostly girl's grip was tightening. Just as Jess reached for the door handle, the room behind them resonated with chanting, voices rising as if in a macabre ritual. "You cannot escape her, she is coming." What were they invoking? What horror were they entangled in? Jess felt cold dread consume her as she realized they were at the epicenter of something far darker than she could comprehend. Something that craved them. As the door flung open and the night air rushed in, she knew they had to escape, but where? In the grip of impending doom, Jess realized time was slipping away. Had they lingered too long? The girl was coming and there was nowhere to hide. They burst into the cold night, the air biting at Jess's skin. Instinct held Chloe tightly to her side, as they stepped onto their porch like it was the edge of a precipice. The house loomed ominously behind them, its windows like dark eyes glaring. It felt as if it was waiting, biding its time. "Mom, we can't run." Chloe gasped, her breath forming misty clouds in the frigid air. "She needs me to stay." Jess felt a pulse of panic. "Who needs you? What does she want?" Chloe didn't respond. She stood rooted, her eyes glassy again and distant. The wind howled through the trees, a chilling wail that seemed to echo the inner chaos swelling in Jess's chest. "Chloe, listen to me." Jess squeezed her daughter's hand harder. "We have to leave this place. Right now." But Chloe simply shook her head, the resolve etched on her face making Jess's stomach drop. "No. You don't understand, Mom, she can't be alone. She gets angry when we leave." A shadow darted behind a tree, its flicker too fast to be a trick of the night. Jess felt her heart drop into her stomach. The fear, formerly a dull roar, turned into shrill screams in her mind. "Chloe, we have to go. We don't belong here." The chanting behind them, a haunting chorus weaving through the doors and windows, echoed in the silence outside. "You cannot escape her, she is coming." Jess scanned their surroundings, desperate for an escape route. The road stretched long and empty, but it offered a glimmer of hope. She took a step toward it, willing Chloe to follow. "Mom, wait." Chloe's voice echoed like a tether pulling Jess back. "We can't leave her like this. It's not right. Chloe." Jess's voice cracked, pleading. "What do you think will happen if we don't?" A chill ran down her spine as she realized the gravity of their choice, and the grip that the unseen girl held over her daughter was strengthening. Suddenly, something resembling a gasp echoed from the house. It was a girl's voice. Thin and frail, but filled with an undercurrent of rage. "Stay with me." The voice crawled into Jess's mind, prickling like a swarm of bees and freezing the blood in her veins. "Chloe, please." Jess begged, turning her daughter towards her. She needed her to see. "She could hurt you. She wants to keep you trapped." "No." Chloe screamed, her eyes wide with an intensity that was terrifying. "You don't know what it feels like. She sees me. She sees the real me. She's not evil, she just wants to be free." In that moment, Jess froze, realization hitting her like a jolt. Chloe was starting to believe it. That thing was weaving her own magic, wrapping her daughter in a web of twisted loyalty and fear. Panic surged through Jess again. She couldn't let Chloe fall into that darkness. But as Jess reached out, Chloe pulled away, inching toward the house. "Chloe, no." The shadows from the porch seemed to stretch, reaching out hungrily as if beckoning Chloe back. A low rumble filled the air, a dark whisper growing louder, winding through the wind. "Stay, we're meant to be together forever." Jess felt the weight of despair crushing her. "Chloe. Fight it. Please." Just then, Chloe stopped. Her body jerked, caught between two worlds, her mother and the lure of the girl in the shadows. The air grew heavy, thick with dread. Jess could feel the invisible hands already gripping Chloe's spirit. A flash of something darker flickered behind Chloe, its form shifting into something grotesque, an eerie mimicry of a girl's face, sporting a grin that promised madness. "Mom! Help me!" With a ferocious growl, Jess lunged, grabbing Chloe's arm. But her daughter stood firm, eyes wild, trembling with fear. The shadows seized the moment, tightening their grip. Jess felt cold fingers curling around her own heart, pulling her towards the house. The night bellowed around them, as if a storm was coming, a tempest of whispers, screams, and the sinister pull of fate. With every fiber of her being, Jess pulled against Chloe. "We're leaving. Now." But the house loomed larger, the darkness stretching, reaching, hungry for a feast. "Will you come with me?" The voice of the girl echoed anew. Sweet like honey and laced with deceptive malice, enveloping them both. "Mom, help me." With a desperate breath, Jess knew she had to choose. The final moment teetered on the edge of a knife. In that pivotal silence, where shadows breathed, she wondered if she could pull Chloe back from the brink, or if they'd both be lost to the darkness forever. What if Chloe chose to stay? What would that mean for Jess? As their hands gripped tighter, dawn approached on the horizon, but the path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty and terror. Chloe's scream pierced the air, sharp and chilling, raking down Jess's spine. It pulled her from the depths of despair as adrenaline surged through her veins. "Hold on to me," she demanded, her voice a frenzied whisper, desperate and fierce. But as Jess strained against the grip of darkness, Chloe's grip remained unwavering. Fear and defiance flickered across her daughter's face. "I can't, Mom. I can't leave her. She needs me." A menacing whisper swelled from the house, creeping closer, its breath like ice on Jess's neck. Stay with us. The word, us, elongated, twisting into something grotesque that seemed to coil through the air. Listen to me. Jess pleaded, her heart pounding in her chest like a war drum. This isn't right. It's not just a game to her. But Chloe hesitated, her eyes swimming with tears yet transformed by a peculiar brightness. She's lonely. Just like I was. You don't know what she's been through. The shadows twisted, their forms blurring and reshaping, creating visions of children long lost, their faces desperate and pleading. In that moment, Jess was flooded with a sense of profound loss. Children who once lived, now swallowed by the mansion's heart of darkness, a place where love morphed into madness and betrayal. Chloe, please. Jess's voice trembled with raw urgency. You're not like her. You have a life waiting for you. Suddenly, a gust of wind struck, slamming the door of the house wide open. An icy blast surged into the night, bringing with it an otherworldly glow that pulsated from the threshold. Jess's breath hitched. The figure in the doorway emerged, dim and indistinct, beckoning, flickering on the edges of reality. Help me. Save me. The voice was now piercingly familiar, echoing their shared laughter, their safety, everything Jess held dearest. It was as if every happy memory had been lured in there, twisted beyond recognition. Mom! Chloe shouted again, her face contorting in a mix of terror and longing. I have to know. What if she's not lying? We can't abandon her. A roar of thunder rattled the very core of the night, and Jess felt the ground beneath her tremble. The house was alive, breathing, hungry for more. It wanted her, it wanted Chloe, and she could feel it sharpening its teeth. In that moment of anguish, Jess fought against the pull of Chloe's hand. You don't understand what you're saying. This girl, she doesn't want to be your friend, love. She wants to take you, forever. Chloe's resolve flickered like a candle in the wind. For just an instant, Jess saw a glimmer of hesitation in her daughter's eyes. Then the shadows surged forward, a tide of darkness swallowing the light. Jess knew they were losing more than just an argument, they were losing time. With raw strength, she yanked on Chloe's arm, frustration boiling to anger. Fight it. Remember who you are. A guttural scream erupted from the depths of the house, a sound so horrifying that it sent chills through Jess's bones. It was not just a girl's voice anymore, it was a chorus of despair, blending into something terrifying. Stay with us, it sang again, a death knell that clawed at Jess's hope. Chloe! Jess cried, tears of terror slipping down her cheeks. You're my daughter. You are loved. I can't lose you. Then another rumble from the house, the walls shuddering with an ancient hunger, threatening to overflow into the night and consume them whole. Mom, please. Chloe's voice became small and trembling, the resolve wavering. Jess felt that flicker of hope, but was it too late? As the darkness began to close in like a coiling serpent, Jess could feel herself being tugged toward that malevolent force. The shadow of the girl seemed to curve around Chloe and stretch toward Jess, weaving through her mind like a poison. Save me. The voice taunted, now malicious and twisted. Join us, Jess gasped, her heart racing, each heartbeat echoing her dread. She was trapped on a precipice between light and dark, and the abyss yawned wide below. What would Chloe choose in the end? As the dawn light crept ever closer, a shrouded figure flickered in and out of focus at the threshold, waiting patiently for her decision to be made. Would the house get what it wanted, both mother and child? Or could Jess find the strength to tear Chloe from its grasp? The air crackled with tension, the shadows danced closer. In those final moments, Jess felt hope slipping through her fingers. The question loomed large: how far would she go to save her daughter from the darkness? Silence hung thick in the frostbitten air, just before the storm broke. A wave of cold hit them as the darkness pushed forward, a suffocating presence creeping in around Jess. She strained against Chloe's hand, feeling a pull, a magnetic force dragging her toward the threshold. Every instinct screamed to run, but her feet felt glued to the ground. Chloe. Jess's voice strained, raw with desperation. You have strength inside. Please, remember all those times we laughed. All the warm nights under the stars. That's real, not whatever this is. The shadows coiled like serpents around Chloe, hissing softly, "Stay with us." The voices of lost souls echoed in the wind, a cacophony of grief that clawed at Jess's resolve. No. She shouted, a primal scream that cut through the lingering whispers. You are not lost. You're right here. I'm not letting you go. Chloe blinked, her face scrunching with confusion, yet the glow in her eyes dimmed, just for a second. Mom, she started, but the shadows twisted tighter, tugging her back into their suffocating embrace. Another powerful force jerked Jess, like icy fingers wrapping around her limbs, an unmistakable grasp of something sinister. The shadows pulsed as if feeding off the fear radiating from both mother and daughter. Jess's breath came quick and heavy as horror settled in. We should go, Chloe. Jess rasped. We can't fight it. There's nothing good here. Chloe's gaze shifted, caught between the spectral girl and the shadowy tendrils swirling around her. But what if she's lonely? She needs us. They need your soul, sweetie. Jess's heart thundered with urgency. I want to let it take you. With every ounce of will, Jess yanked Chloe back, the intensity in her voice rising. Think about your life, school, friends, our family. You're my light. Don't let her steal your heart. Suddenly, a bell tolled deep within the house, echoing like a funeral dirge, resonating with dread. The walls quaked and undulated, revealing fleeting images of children in despair, faces emptied of joy, eyes wide with silent screams. Jess felt nausea rise in her throat. Was that what they were to become? Mom, Chloe whispered, tears streaking down her face, the pull of the shadows wavering. But it was too late, infinitely too late. The house rumbled with a low growl, threatening and primal. It did not want to lose its prey. The shadow girl stepped forward, her form coalescing, taking shape, pale skin contrasting with the encroaching darkness around her. A sob echoed from her lips, chilling Jess's blood. Join us, Chloe, it's better here, you won't be lonely. Chloe's eyes flickered, caught in the waves of uncertainty. I want to help her. No, you don't. Jess erupted, desperation morphing to anger. You're my baby and I will fight for you until my last breath. The arcane power of the house surged, and Jess felt an icy finger pull at her soul, whispering temptations and fears she wouldn't dare acknowledge. The very structure of the mansion creaked around them, as though it were a living entity, feeding off their despair. Chloe screamed, her voice a mix of terror and longing. Mom! I need to understand. But understanding meant embracing the darkness, and Jess' heart shattered at the thought. In that pivotal moment, she realized the truth: fear and love were both chains, but only one would bind them tighter in despair. Fight! Fight for both of us! Jess pleaded, her voice now trembling on the brink of a breakdown. If not for yourself, then for me. You are my heartbeat. The shadows surged in response, a hushed rage boiling beneath their cries. Jess could feel the house vibrating, ready to erupt to claim them both. Chloe looked at her mother, the sparkle in her eyes flickering, a fight igniting behind the fear. I want to become one of them. The malevolent girl lunged, a swift shadow that sliced through the air. Chloe. The world around them blurred, the very fabric of reality distorting, and Jess felt her daughter slip. Moments stretched, as if time had fractured. Could they escape this nightmare, or would the mansion consume them whole? A chilling laugh echoed, mocking and relentless, as darkness closed in, tearing at Jess' soul. The question hung in the icy air: would their bond be enough to break the curse, or had the house already marked them as its next victims? The shadows lunged, a black wave crashing in on Jess as she gripped her daughter tighter. She could barely think, fear clawing at her mind like a caged beast. Each pulse of darkness around them vibrated with despair, and the malevolent air pressed down like a lead blanket. Jess closed her eyes, summoning the memories of bright days, laughter, and warmth. "Chloe! Look at me!" she demanded, forcing her voice through the fog. "Focus on me." Chloe's eyes flickered, the fight inside her still alive, but Jess could see the glimmer fading. It was a race against the insatiable pull of the shadows, a battle that felt more futile by each heartbeat. "Jess. I'm scared," Chloe said, her voice barely above a whisper. What if I don't come back?" The specter loomed, its face twisting into a sorrowful mask, as if wishing to draw both of them into its eternal night. "You both belong here, it's safe," it cooed, its voice dripping with seduction. Jess could feel Chloe responding, the pull of the dark world becoming an inviting embrace. "Don't listen to it," Jess shouted, panic igniting her voice. "You're stronger than this. We can overcome it together." She thrust an arm out, feeling the chill envelop her like a steel cage. Gritting her teeth, she pushed back against the shadows, her mind racing through every ounce of love she had ever felt for Chloe. The darkness roared, angry and deafening. The walls groaned as the structure seemed to shift, a living being aware of the struggle within it. Jess felt the house itself wavering and, inside the chaos, a sudden moment of clarity struck her. "Chloe!" Jess screamed, "Remember Halloween? That night we were scared silly, but we looked at each other and laughed. Those giggles went on for hours." Chloe blinked, the memory lighting a flicker of hope in her eyes. The overseer of shadows paused, as if disoriented. "You can be free here. No need for laughter. Embrace the stillness," it hissed, struggled to regain control. "No." Jess shouted again, her voice breaking. "Embrace our lives. Not this dead stillness." Chloe's breath caught, her heart racing as the images Jess conjured filled her mind. The joy of a birthday party, their shared dance in the kitchen, warm hugs after a long day. It was real, and it was theirs. "Mom!" Chloe cried suddenly, the tremor in her voice now driven by desperation and determination. "I don't want to lose myself. Not now. Not to them." With that declaration, it was as if a spark ignited between them. The shadows screamed, a cacophony of rage and sorrow, their grip faltering as they sensed a shift. Jess felt energy flooding her limbs, a strength born of love and desperation. "Hold on, Chloe!" Jess yelled fiercely, pulling her daughter close, breathing through the turmoil around them, each breath a silent prayer. The shadow girl screeched, her form dissolving in torrents of darkness, a furious tempest that grasped at Jess's spirit, clawing, shrieking with malice as it struggled to reclaim its prey. "Get away from her!" Jess stepped forward, the raw courage swelling in her from every fiber of her being. As she advanced, a blinding light erupted from her heart, pushing the dark matter back like a tidal wave. Chloe's fingers found the light too, and together they shielded each other from the consuming dread. Jess felt a rush, an overwhelming surge of warmth and clarity. Maybe, just maybe, they were strong enough, but then, as the shadows retreated, tightening around the edges of their victory, a new figure emerged from the depths. It was smaller, an innocent face shimmering amidst the gloom, twisted with pleased children's cries mingling with laughter and panic. "Save us!" It beckoned, its voice sweet yet haunting, a sinister lullaby that echoed in the cold silence. This isn't the end, Jess realized, her heart racing anew. Who were these children? A new darkness was closing in. The path ahead twisted into an even darker descent. What more awaited them behind the mantle of shattered dreams? Would they be able to break the chains that bound the lost children, or would they find themselves ensnared once again? Embraced by the very shadows they fought. The apparition of the child hovered before them, a ghostly silhouette barely illuminated by the fading light. Its face was a canvas of sorrow, eyes wide and pleading. Jess's heart thudded violently against her chest. Who are you?" she managed to choke out, feeling her resolve teeter. "Please help." The child's voice echoed, a haunting melody that twisted around them like a noose. "They keep us here, we don't belong." With each word, the shadows trembled, a low growl emanating from their depths, as if warning Jess to retreat. Chloe gasped beside her, fear and empathy warring for dominance in her expression. "Mom, we can't leave them," she whispered. Jess felt the weight of her daughter's fear intermingling with a fierce desire to save the lost souls. But the spectre, its form almost translucent, began to shift, rippling as if the air itself was turning against them. "No!" Jess shouted, urgency igniting her veins. "We won't let them take anyone else." She gripped Chloe's hand tighter, feeling her own resolve clash against the growing darkness surrounding them. "Let her go!" Chloe cried, pointing at the spectre. "We can free them." "Chloe, we don't know," Jess started, but the shout of the shadows drowned out her warning. They surged forward once more, an angry tide that encircled them. The air grew icy, slicing through Jess's skin. She struggled against an overwhelming sensation, as if the shadows were sinking tendrils into her thoughts, reaching for her fear to fuel their dreadful hunger. "Mom!" Chloe screamed, and the sound pierced through the clamoring dread. "I can feel them. They're angry. We need to do something. Hold on to me." Jess yelled, drawing strength from each cherished memory, days at the park, baking cookies, the warmth of a summer afternoon. With every recollected joy, light flooded her being, forcing the shadows back. But the darkness snarled, twisting and writhing like a living creature, led by instinct and desperation. Jess faced the shadow-encircled spectre. "If you need help, you must show us," Jess cried. "What binds you here?" The child's eyes shimmered amidst the darkness, and in that moment, Jess understood this was no mere spirit. It was a vessel of buried pain and unfulfilled longing. The shadows recoiled, their furious energy crackling in the air while the spectre's form flickered. "Fear," it whispered, its voice now tinged with terror. "They feed on your fear." Fill the void. As a wave of despair surged from the child, Jess staggered under its weight. Memories twisted and contorted at the edges of her mind, broken promises, lost laughter. The room seemed to collapse inwards, space and time recycling into the shadows of grief. "No!" she gasped. "We won't let them." Jess sent out that single, burning light, tightening her grip on Chloe, unwilling to surrender, but the malevolent roar that erupted sent shockwaves through their bond, shaking Jess to her very core. The shadows drew closer, each tendril now infused with the cries of lost children, their collective wails bathing the chamber in a chilling symphony of despair. "Fight it!" Chloe shouted, her voice striking through the chaos like a beacon of hope. Jess looked at her daughter, fire igniting within her. "Together," she declared, determination flooding her heart. And as one, they raised their hands, the light cascading between them, pushing back the darkness, but it was clear a greater force awaited. The angry shadows transformed, revealing fleeting glimpses of haunting faces, memories of despair and fear clawing at Jess. This was no battle against mere spirit, this was a confluence of all the lost souls trapped in an endless cycle of suffering. That eye and the swirling dark, Jess sensed another presence lurking, one that beckoned with a familiar voice, shrouded in a sinister warmth. "Mommy, help me!" The blood ran cold in Jess's veins. Whose voice was that? Panic seized her throat as she turned. Was it her own child lost to the void, or an illusion conjured by the shadows? Each second sounded like thunder in her heart, and now, she was faced with an impossible choice. Would she attempt to save the child who called for her, or protect the one in her grasp? The shadows swarmed closer, their grasp tightening with the pressure of eternity waiting for her answer. Chloe's grip tightened, and Jess's choices fell heavy on her shoulders. In this twisted, darkened maze, could they truly escape if the tendrils of despair still lingered? But Jess knew one thing: all would unravel in the next heartbeat. The shadows pulsed like a living heartbeat, resonating with the cries of despair that clawed at Jess's insides. Each wail fueled the air with a stench of decay, of shattered hopes, and unending sorrow. She could feel Chloe's hand, trembling and warm, yet the cold of the shadows creeped closer, whispering threats her ear couldn't catch, yet her instincts could feel. "Mommy, help me!" That voice again. It twisted within her mind, drowning her in doubt. Was it Chloe? Was it someone else? Panic washed over her like freezing water. What would happen if she let go? Jess could almost see the shape of her fear, a monstrous outline in the dark, clawing at her heart, trying to pry her resolve apart. Chloe, she said, her voice shaky but resolute, if we stay together, we can fight this. Stop talking. Chloe shouted, the panic finally breaking free. We need to do something. The specter pulsed with anguish, its form shimmering uncertainly, caught in a battle of its own against the shadows. Help us, you must help us. It pleaded, its sorrowful face twisting into a warped reflection of Jess's own fears. What do you need? Jess shouted at the gloom, heart racing faster as she strained against the pull of despair. What binds you here? In response, the shadows tightened their grip. Tendrils of dark mist twisted and slithered toward them, curling around Chloe's feet, pulling her closer to the abyss. Jess yanked Chloe backward, her nails digging into the little girl's arm. Stay with me. The shadows shrieked in frustration, their pitch rising to an unbearable crescendo, a choir of tortured spirits erupting from the void. The other voices spiraled into a frenzy, drowning out the last remnants of individual pleas. Jess felt her own terror merging with theirs, a chilling reminder of her own loss. Was this how it would end? Would she lose her daughter to this darkness? A flash of anger ignited inside her. No. You won't take her. The light that had flickered moments before flooded back, fueled by that raw emotion. She lifted her hands, a shield against the encroaching void. Their bond was stronger than any specter could comprehend. Suddenly, from the periphery of her vision, she caught a glimpse of a familiar shape lingering in the shadows, a figure she recognized. Daddy? The voice called, echoing with the lilt of her husband's tone, twisted and broken. Jess. It croaked, fragmented and helpless, reminiscent of everything she had lost. Help me. Save me. The shadows convulsed, surging in response to her internal struggle. They wanted to consume her, plant doubt, and morph her fears into painful reality. Jess felt the biting chill at her fingertips, though she was enveloped by the warmth of Chloe beside her. Could she trust her own eyes? Was this truly her husband, or a grotesque mockery devised to lure her deeper into the abyss? Mom! We have to go. Chloe begged, pulling at her arm. The ghostly shape of her husband grew more distinct, pleading eyes watching her with unyielding desperation. Jess stood at the crossroads between hope and despair. I can't leave you. She gasped, torn by the sight of both her loved ones. Choose. The shadows thundered, contorting the room around them. Choose before it's too late. The air crackled with energy, and the darkness roared in response, threatening to swallow them whole. Time stretched to a sickening pause, the weight of eternity pressing down on Jess's chest, each heartbeat resounding like a drumroll of doom. In that moment, as the shadows coiled ever closer, Jess faced a reality that twisted her insides. To save one, she might need to let go of the other. But what if the one she chose was the wrong one? The shadows writhed, eager to capitalize on her hesitation, brushing ice through her veins. Jess could feel it all unraveling, the desperation, the agony, the lingering echoes of all she held dear. Mom, please. Chloe's terrified voice cut through the cacophony, a tether as the shadows loomed, eager to claim their prize. The choice hung like a noose around her neck. Which path would she take as the world around her spiraled into darkness? With barely time to breathe, the question echoed in that cursed chamber. Would she sacrifice everything for the flicker of a hope, or embrace the shadows lurking close? It was coming apart too quickly, and the next heartbeat would change everything. As the shadows surged, Jess's heart raced, and it felt like the end. But what if it was just the beginning? Jess's heart thundered like a trapped beast within her chest, the chaos of the dark room warping her thoughts. She could feel the shadows squeezing tighter, chilling her skin like frostbite. Chloe's frightened eyes were wide, anchored in terror. The weight of the choice pressed down, as if the darkness itself was waiting, hungry for resolution. "Mom, please." Chloe's whisper fell like a stone in the suffocating silence, punctuating the tension. "Hold on tight," Jess breathed, shaking her head to clear her thoughts as she fought back against the suffocating darkness. She glanced again at the figure of her husband, still shrouded in shadow, his features blurred like a mirage, tantalizing and terrifying all at once. "Jess. Please. You have to help me." His voice echoed, rife with anguish. It tugged at Jess's heartstrings, but beneath the surface, doubt curdled her instincts. Was he truly there? Or was this a cruel illusion crafted by the emptiness? "Chloe, I want to let go," she said, squeezing her daughter's hand tighter. The warmth felt like a lifeline in this void. With every surge of darkness, she could almost feel the specter of despair crawling into her mind, digging through her memories. The loss of her husband, the fear of losing her daughter, it was all too much. The shadows roared, their voices mingling into a dreadful harmony of suffering, desperation hanging in the air like a noxious cloud. Jess could feel herself merging with that symphony, her anguish joining the chaos, threatening to drown her. She fought to hold on, teeth gritted, eyes locked on the figure. "Tell me what you need." She shouted over the cacophony, raw determination fueling her voice. "I need you to believe." He stretched out an arm, the shadows writhing around him as if in reaction. "Believe it's me. Trust me. Jess." The shadows. Chloe's voice sliced through the gloom, vibrating with panic. Jess turned. Tendrils of blackness were crawling around their ankles, creeping slowly upwards, seeking to consume them both. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, Jess pulled Chloe closer, her other hand raised defensively. "Get back!" she screamed, as she released a scream of defiance, pouring every ounce of her will into that single outburst. Light ignited from her palms, the warmth flaring despite the biting cold enveloping them. The shadows hissed and recoiled, and Jess could see their twisted forms ripple back, wavering against the incandescence of her raw emotions. "Mommy, do something!" Chloe cried, clutching her mother's arm. "I want to let go," Jess vowed, her voice steady despite the swirling terror. But the figure of her husband shook, growing distorted, becoming a grotesque caricature of what once had been. "You'll choose me, one to you, Jess." The mockery in his voice sent chills skittering down her spine. "We can have it all back, just let her go." "No!" Jess screamed, pushing the suffocating thoughts away. The air thickened around them, heavy with the weight of loss, desire, and fear wrapped tightly in darkness. In that agonizing moment, Jess felt the ground tremble beneath her feet. The shadows were restless, snapping like starving beasts, ready to devour. "We are all trapped here. You think you can save her?" "No." She gritted her teeth, nearly losing her footing. "I can fight." And then, as though the very universe held its breath, she closed her eyes and let all her love for Chloe erupt into a brilliant light. The shadows writhed violently, and for a fleeting second, she felt the chains of despair shatter. But was it enough? The darkness screamed in fury, and Jess's heart raced. Would it retaliate? She wouldn't give in now. As the light swirled and pulsed around them, something shifted. The tormenting whisper of the shadows began to fade. But at what cost? With a sharp grin, the spectre's eyes narrowed. "You think this is over? It's only just begun." A shadow forged from impossibility leapt forth, grasping for them among the bright light that now flickered like dying embers. Just as it reached for them, Jess felt Chloe tugging at her hand with desperation. "What do we do, Mommy?" And Jess realized, this struggle hadn't merely involved holding on but letting go. The darkness surged again, more substantial and angry than before, and Jess's heart cracked under the weight of a malevolent promise. The walls of reality shook, and it struck her, one glimmering thought before the churning chaos swallowed them whole: what if the shadows weren't just a hurdle to conquer, but a truth waiting to unravel? The ground trembled, urgency rippling through Jess as she stepped closer to the abyss. What was really at stake? As the shadows bore down, Jess felt the chilling thrill crawl up her spine. As the darkness beckoned, her very essence hanging in the balance, she locked eyes with Chloe, fear intermingling with an unshakable assurance. "This isn't the end," she whispered, steeling her resolve. "Hold on, but would holding on be enough to save them?" The shadows writhed around them, a living nightmare hungry for warmth and light. Jess's heart felt like it was going to burst, caught between love and fear. Chloe's grip tightened, anchoring her to reality as the dark whisper of despair threatened to swallow them whole. "Mom! What do we do?" Chloe's voice trembled, echoing Jess's worst fears. The swirling mass of darkness throbbed with a life of its own, each heartbeat synced to the devilish rhythm of the haunted house. With raw determination, Jess clutched her daughter's hand tighter. "We need to confront it. Stand together, Chloe." The shadows danced wildly, sensing their unity, but Jess felt that flicker of hope ignite within her. Rushing forward, she squeezed her eyes shut, summoning every bit of love, every joyful memory of Chloe, their laughter in the kitchen, star-filled nights on the porch, the warmth of hugs that erased all fears. "Remember the light?" Jess shouted, her voice echoing in defiance. "It's our shield." She opened her eyes, their brightness cutting through the swirling darkness. Together, they created a barrier, the warmth shoving back against the suffocating pull of shadow. The spectre screeched, the sound a discordant melody of anguish, but Jess pressed on, refusing to yield. "You don't own us. We are strong." In a flash, Chloe's face transformed, fear melting into fierce resolve. "I'm not afraid of you. We are going to free everyone." Light erupted from their joined hands, expanding outward in waves like the dawn breaking on a long, dark night. The shadows recoiled, thrashing and wailing, their tormented cries mingling with the laughter of lost children, trapped for too long in a web of despair. Jess felt Chloe's energy merging with hers, a powerful current binding them against the encroaching darkness. "Let them go!" Jess shouted, her voice echoing with fierce determination. "You don't control their fate anymore." The shadows writhed violently, unraveling as their grip weakened, a malevolent entity losing its hold. The room shook, disorienting Jess for an instant, the walls quaking in protest. "Save us! Help us!" The voices cried in unison, a haunting chorus of pain echoed like an orchestra of despair. "This is your chance," Jess urged, a fire igniting in her chest. "You don't have to be lost. You can be free." Suddenly, from the depth of the shadows, faces emerged, children twisted in fear, eyes wide with longing. They reached for Jess and Chloe, pleading silently. Jess's heart shattered at the sight. Each face told a story, a life snuffed out before its time. They needed a chance. With every ounce of strength, Jess channeled her love into the light, filling the room with radiant warmth. It pulsed with life, a stark contrast to the cold abyss. "Follow us. Come into the light." For a fleeting moment, the children hesitated, lost in the warping whispers of horror. Then, one by one, the lost souls stepped forward, echoes of laughter breaking through the tears of despair. Light flooded the chamber, illuminating the horrors of the past until the shadows shrieked in agony, collapsing under the weight of their own darkness. "Chloe, now!" Jess shouted. They stepped forward together, feet sinking into the ground as light erupted around them. Each flickering spark drew the shadows closer to extinction, burning away their lingering sorrow. As the last echoes of despair faded into nothingness, Jess looked at Chloe, their fingers still entwined, a fierce unity forged in love. The haunting house groaned, the very foundation shaking as it crumbled around them. "Mom, we did it!" Chloe cheered, her voice ringing with the purest joy. Together, Jess panted, her heart surging with relief. In that moment, Jess knew they had fought not just for their lives but for the soul of everyone who had been lost within those walls. As dawn broke through the cracks in the patio, the first rays of light flooded into the once dark house, illuminating the path to freedom. Hand in hand, they stepped into the glow, leaving behind the weight of anguish and sorrow. Together, they emerged into a world Beyond the shadows, a world where laughter echoed and love was unbreakable. The ghosts that lingered, the shadows that thirsted broken at last. With a deep breath, Jess looked at Chloe, and there, beneath the brightness of the morning sun, they found home. The house was a memory now, a testament to their bond stronger than darkness. They walked forward, ready to embrace the life they had fought for, stronger together, every step lighting the way, but as they turned away, a whisper echoed, soft yet filled with resolve. "Thank you," it seemed to say, and Jess felt a shiver race down her spine. It wasn't over. There would always be stories to tell, battles to fight, and bonds to strengthen. As they walked into a new dawn, with smiles on their faces, Jess's heart swelled with hope. They were alive, together, and ready to face whatever came next. Time to reclaim their story, and if you stuck around through this terrifying journey, I need you to do something crucial. Subscribe immediately, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now, feed the algorithm. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about the ending. And for goodness sake, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to support this channel. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of this. Your actions matter.